Hi! Welcome back to another video confessional. This is now round 7. Um, Last round was a doozy for sure. Um, so I just wanted to do this confessional, like talking about the last hour and then my thought process on the aftermath. Um, yeah. So I was like thinking like, there's nothing I can do to save Raisa if like Maddie isn't really into it, if Quincy is drunk and won't be able to like really campaign with me about it. Um, but then I was talking to Iniko and I was like, Fletcher hasn't like messaged me all day. Like, should I message him again? And he was like, no, he's probably just like busy. And then immediately after I messaged Iniko about Fletcher, like I get a message from Fletcher and he's like, hey, sorry, like I couldn't respond for a while. And I was like, okay, like that's fine. I didn't like check the entire message. Um, but I end up looking back again and it's like, so you're going home tonight. Sorry to break it to you, but I don't think there's like anything that can be done. And I was like, oh, so these bitches been lying to me all day. They've been lying to me all night. Ooh, no, 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 no. And I was like, oh, well, now I have to like really shift into gears of campaigning in this last hour. I think it was like 9:03 when I like got that message and I was like, shit, well, like now it's time to really put forth a good campaign. I immediately like messaged everybody. Danny was really short with me. Iniko, I'll get to Iniko after. Ryan and Risa were like, there's nothing like we don't want to be the ones that campaign and stick our necks out, which is like understandable. Maddie is like, I don't really like this position. She's very incoherent when she was like trying to like push me through the conversation, and I was like, okay, I need to like really consider my options. And at that point, I thought it was like either life or death for me. So I was like, if need be, I would literally throw like Iniko under the bus, who was probably my number one ally at that point. And then the conversation that I had with Iniko, it was like, he was like, I figured it out yesterday and I couldn't do anything. I've been literally fighting so hard for you to stay all day. And I was like, okay. He said, like, I literally, like, asked to, like, throw myself under the bus for you. And that's what sort of, like, signaled to me that, like, okay, like, I have enough ammunition against him that, like, if I campaign really hard, I think it would knock people into their senses and vote him out over me. So like that's what I ended up doing. Immediately when I say like there's one person in this game who has been like a big threat and been in the know about everything, and Maddie's like, oh, who's that? And I tell her, it's Iniko. And she was like, oh, I think we could make something work with that. And I was like, oh yes, like I'm doing so good. I'm gonna keep messaging everybody about Iniko. The time passes on and like Quincy is like, you know what, I'll do it. Drunk Quincy's like, you know what, I'll do it. Orion and Petra, or Ryan and Risa are like, oh yeah, like I'm fully down for this. And then Danny's like, you know what, I'll just go through with it. And on a side note, I did buy the vote doubler, which looking back on it now was very stupid, and I did use it. But for me at the time, it was definitely better to be safe than sorry. I think I was working with the knowledge that I had at the time and the credibility of the knowledge that I had at the time. And it was just like it was like 9:59 and Orion messages me and he's like, okay, like I did this, we're going through with this. And I was like, yes, yes, I did such a good job. Woo, yeah, I did such a good job. Woo, yay. And like the votes come in and it was like, oh my gosh, 7-2. Fletcher and Innika were blindsided. Like, I pushed myself back up to this position. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I messaged Brooks and I was like, I'm staying. And he was like, you voted out Iniko? Nobody thought you would do that. And then it like clicked to me and I was like, nobody would think that I'd vote out Iniko. Nobody would like expect me to like be on board with that. everybody thinks that we're like, I'm his number one and all this stuff. And I was like, everybody's probably really, um, thinking that I would never touch Iniko. And like, that wasn't even true because other than Danny, the person that I was going to target in order to save Ryan and Risa, if need be, was Iniko. Like I was gonna campaign against Iniko. Um, so that was the first red flag of many of the night. Um, and then turned back to Iniko. Like I was like, I'm so sorry, and he was like, it's okay. You did what you had to do. I was like, yeah, I did, and I stayed. And it was just like I was so excited in the moment. You can see in my round 6 confessional, I like posted this like 30-second video of me cheering for myself and like looking back on it, like that's embarrassing. That's embarrassing. Given the fact that I probably wasn't gonna go home anyways. Like I looked back at the like votes and I was like, wow, there are some like nicely crafted votes for Iniko here. And like, oh my gosh, like did they really like all write their parchments in the last 10 minutes and switch to Iniko? Did Quincy really switch his vote like in an actual parchment while he was drunk? Like, I think not. I think not. And initially I was like, what if Iniko told them to vote him out over me and like all this stuff? And I was like, not actually I was not actually like succeeding in my campaign and it was all his work and not mine. But now I'm definitely running under the belief that they were blindsiding me because they thought that I'd never vote out Iniko. So they like didn't want to have me know anyways. And it was just like a matter of convenience that I decided to flip on Iniko. I'd like to say that that was strategy on my part. Um, but like, and maybe I will like later down the line if I make it to the end and I'm like, I can like lie and say I knew about this all along and like I put together the pieces once I said I'll vote Iniko and everybody was suddenly on board with my plan. Um, but yeah, there were just too many red flags for me to actually feel confident now that I actually flipped everybody. If I did, I'm just like selling myself short. Like, good on me. I slayed. I ate it up. I ate the house down boots and all that stuff and all those words. Um, but I think it's more likely that that wasn't the case, and that I actually just like flipped onto the right side. And at this point in the game, like I'm going to keep up that act of feeling like I made this move for myself, and um, I'm indebted to everybody that kept me because if I don't do that, if I hadn't voted out Iniko, I would have been blindsided anyways, and Iniko would have went home, and I would have been on the bottom. So now that I sort of inserted myself onto the top by throwing Iniko under the bus, I don't want to jeopardize that. Especially now that we're swapped and there are Kit, Sage, and Gwen, people that I haven't talked to yet in the game. I definitely want to like not really alienate myself any further than I might. So that's that on that. My new block is Orion, Risa, Sage, Kit, Gwen, Brooks, and Zola. I feel relatively comfortable on this tribe, on this block. Hopefully that's like a warranted feeling. Hopefully it's a good thing that I feel that way and I'm not oblivious to anything going on. But I survive another day. I survive another slay. I'm in the majority of the vote. I think things went pretty well, all things considered. I think I made the best adjustment to my game that I could have. I think if anything, I'm hoping that this doesn't make people think that I'm willing to throw everybody under the bus at any time and make me an unreliable player. I hope that it makes people think, hey, if I need him in my corner, he's either A, very easy to convince, or B, if I do something good for him, he will be very grateful for me. So that's all I have for you guys. Thanks for listening. I'll probably check in a little bit later, but take care. Bye.